so much for being here and spending your Sunday afternoon with us. Gosh. I'm going to talk a little bit about The Fault in Our Stars, how it came to be a book, and sort of the story of the writing of it, I guess, and then read a little bit from the book. But in order to do that, I actually have to borrow a copy from someone in the first row. So, look at this prepared person. Oh, great, it's hard to say. So, I worked as a student chaplain at a children's hospital for about 6 months in 2000. And while I was working there, I met a lot of kids who were really sick, and I met a lot of kids who died as well. And it was very difficult work. It was really, it was painful for me. I saw as basically the worst thing that can happen to a family every single day for those 6 months, and that was very difficult. Obviously, not nearly as difficult as it was for the families involved, but it was hard for me as well. And after I stopped working there, I started writing all of these stories that were about a children's hospital, except that they weren't about children or hospitals. They were mostly about this 22-year-old hospital chaplain, who is like me, but super handsome. And it was like, which lady doctor will he choose? It's pretty bad. And I think it was bad in retrospect because it was self-indulgent. It was about me, not just literally, but also figuratively. I was writing it for me, not for you. And I worked really, really hard on this stuff, and I wrote lots and lots of different stories about this chaplain and set in this children's hospital, and then eventually I put them aside and I wrote the book that became Looking for Alaska. And then I went back to the children's hospital and I was like, this is the time, and it wasn't the time. And I wrote the book that became An Abundance of Catherines, and then I was like, now, today, I shall do it, and I didn't. I had a different idea then, but it was equally bad, as it happens, and nothing came of it. And I don't think anything ever would, because I don't think I could ever get out of my own head enough to write a story that was a gift for you. And so I'd sort of given up on it, because what I realized in the course of writing these 3 novels is that books only work when they are a gift, and kind of a mutual gift. Like, I try to give you a gift of the best story that I can make, and then you give me the astonishing gift of not just reading that book, but hopefully reading it with an open mind, thoughtfully, with hopefully bringing some of your critical reading skills to the book as well. So I need you to read the book generously, and then I also need to write the story generously. And that's the only time when writing works. I can never be thinking about money. I can never be thinking about like what's going to sell. I did not think that this book would be popular, so I should not be trusted with those decisions. That's the only time it works. And I don't think that I ever could have written the book that became The Fault in Our Stars if I hadn't become friends with a young woman named Esther Earle, who is a nerd fighter. For those of you who don't know what nerd fighters are, it's not people who fight nerds. That was weird. We hate ourselves. It's people who fight for nerds and to celebrate intellectualism and thoughtfulness and to try to build engaged spaces on the internet instead of just spaces that are oriented toward distraction. So Esther was a nerd fighter who was also a fan of my books, and from the time that I met her, she was very sick with cancer, and she died in August of 2010 when she was 16. And in our friendship and getting to know her parents and the rest of her family and her friends as well, I came to think very differently about the story that I was writing. For one thing, that awkwardly handsome or ruggedly handsome, I was describing myself 2 different ways over the course of the many iterations of this story, but it was always adverb handsome. That guy fell away, and he was replaced by no one, which was a great decision. And instead I focused on the kids. I decided that I wanted to try my best to give voice to the life of sick people, because too often the stories that we hear about the lives of sick people are really about healthy people, right? Like, oh, this sick person came into my life, and now, as a result of having known, usually her, because it's a patriarchal construction, as a result of having known her, and as a result of her untimely death, I now know to be grateful for every day. Well, that's all fine and good, except that it imagines that the reason that this person existed and suffered and died was so that you could learn a lesson. That's ridiculous. That is not the meaning of your life, and it is not the meaning of anyone else's life, whether they are well or disabled or ill or whatever. The meaning of your life is not merely to, impart lessons while you're suffering to other people. I wanted to try to give voice to that sick person and to say, that in my experience, sick and dying people are every bit as funny and vivacious and interesting and angry and annoying and everything else as other people. And in doing so, I wanted to argue that it is not only long lives that are full and rich and good lives, but that a short life can also be a good life. And that's the great lesson that Esther taught me through her life, because it was a very short life. It was also a very good and rich life. I was, for the whole decade after I worked at the Children's Hospital, I was so angry, and I was so full of despair. And when I looked at that place, all I could really feel was hopelessness. All I could really feel in terms of, an intellectual response to it was nihilism. And Esther came into my life and said, actually, this does suck, and I don't want to pretend that it doesn't suck, and I'm not psyched about it, but I like being alive. Like, I am grateful to have loved and to have been loved, and I like being here, and I'm not excited about the pain. I don't think that it has any meaning. I don't think that it's got, transcendent suffering or anything, but I am grateful to be alive, and I have a good life. And that was the great gift that allowed me to write The Fault in Our Stars. And then the book came out, and besides just collaborating with Esther, and many other people, I should say. I mean, every novel, you think like books are written by just one person, but that's not the case at all. No book was ever written by just one person. This book is a collaboration between lots and lots and lots of people, including every person who ever emailed me to ask what happens after the end of Looking for Alaska, a question that infuriated me so profoundly that I inserted a book inside of this book so that a girl could ask that same question of an author who could then yell at her. Which in turn only led to lots of people emailing me to ask what happens after the end of this book. And I'm like, well, I quit. I'll move on and talk about something else. I'm going to just read to you from the beginning. And this was, a few paragraphs in the book that I was writing in 2000, 2001, 2005. Some of that survived. But this first chapter all emerged after knowing Esther, knowing how fierce and funny she was. And I don't want anyone to think that Hazel in this story is Esther. I really don't want in any way to appropriate her story, and they're very different people. And also, Esther hated America's Next Top Model, and isn't here to defend herself against the many accusations that I hurl at Hazel in this novel. So I want to be very clear about that. They're very different people, but it was Esther's empathy and fierceness and sarcasm and just general hilarity that I did try to bring to at least some of the voice in the story. So this is the very beginning. Late in the winter of my 17th year, my mother decided I was depressed. Presumably because I rarely left the house, spent quite a lot of time in bed, read the same book over and over, ate infrequently, and devoted quite a bit of my abundant free time to thinking about death. Whenever you read a cancer booklet or website or whatever, they always list depression among the side effects of cancer. But in fact, depression is a side effect of dying. Cancer is also a side effect of dying. Almost everything is, really. A lot of people have taken, this is off topic, a lot of people have taken issue with that line, but it is correct. Cancer is a side effect of dying, as is almost all illness, because if it weren't for cell death, there would be no need for cell reproduction, and if it weren't for cells reproducing and mutating, the cancer would not happen, and we know this for an absolute fact, because zombies don't get cancer. Okay. Anyway. Also, Hazel believes that at the beginning of the book, I don't think she'd say that at the end of the book, because she has a much more complicated view of death. Anyway. Alright. Anyway, my mom believed I required treatment, so she took me to see my regular Dr. Jim, who agreed that I was veritably swimming in a paralyzing and totally clinical depression, and that therefore my meds should be adjusted, and also I should attend a weekly support group. The support group featured a rotating cast of characters in various states of tumor-driven unwellness. Why did the cast rotate? A side effect of dying. The support group, of course, was depressing as hell. It met every Wednesday in the basement of a stone-walled Episcopal church shaped like a cross. We sat in a circle right in the middle of the cross, right where the two boards would have met, where the heart of Jesus would have been. I noticed this because Patrick, the support group leader and the only person over 18 in the room, talked about the heart of Jesus every freaking meeting, all about how we, as young cancer survivors, were sitting right in Christ's very sacred heart or whatever. So here's how it went in God's heart. The 6 or 7 or 10 of us walked/wheeled in, grazed at a decrepit selection of cookies and lemonade, sat down in the circle of trust, and listened to Patrick recount for the 1000th time his depressingly miserable life story. How he had cancer in his balls, and they thought he was going to die, but he didn't die, and now here he is, a full-grown adult in a church basement in the 137th nicest city in America, divorced, addicted to video games, mostly friendless, eking out a meager living by exploiting his cancer-tastic past, slowly working his way toward a master's degree that will not improve his career prospects, waiting, as we all do, for the sword of Damocles to give him the relief that he escaped low those many years ago, when cancer took both of his nuts, but spared what only the most generous soul would call his life. And you too might be so lucky. Thank you. So that's a little bit of our book, The Fault in Our Stars. I'll be answering some of your questions about it in a little while. Thank you for submitting these. I will also be answering questions with Hank and a very special guest. But the most important thing that's going to happen today, of course, is that my brother is going to play music for you. For those of you who are not familiar with his work, let me give you a brief biography. Hank Green is the founding editor of EcoGeek.org. He's also the co-creator of the Lizzie Bennett Diaries and DFT. He also co-founded the Vlog Brothers YouTube channel, as well as SciShow and Crash Course. He's a Billboard charting musician. He invented 2D glasses, which render three-dimensional movies in a crisp 2 dimensions. And in 1998, he was voted Winter Park High School's best dancer. Ladies and gentlemen, Hank Green.
Everybody stopped clapping at the same time. You guys all have the exact same sense of, that must be what it's like to be British. You just all have the same knowledge of what is okay and the exact amount of everything that's all right. But I don't know. And so I asked, how much do you give a tip here? And they're like, whatever you feel is proper. But how much do you give a tip here? Hi, everybody. It occurs to me, hearing my introduction, that I never founded anything on my own except for 2D glasses. I co-founded everything else. I just need a lot of help with stuff. So that was my brother. Did you guys like my brother? Woo! John May Woo. Oh, hi. You guys just get the back view. Also, you guys, hi. That must be interesting. I'll be singing to them mostly. Sorry. Car plugged in? Is it making noise? I can't tell. I assume it is. I'm gonna sing you some songs. I've decided that I'm going to sing you a song about science right now. I generally write songs about stuff I like. I actually am working on a song right now about a terrible, terrible ex-girlfriend, and it's one of the only songs I've ever written that is about something I don't like. You'll hopefully hear that one someday, but I only have one verse so far. So. This song is about science. It's one of my favorites. It's about quarks. Well, that's a weird thing to scream about. A quark is a fundamental constituent of matter observed in 1968 through deep elastic scatter. We found that protons aren't as simple as we thought. We thought they were solid particles, but they are not. Protons, in fact, are made up of three pieces. It just gets more confusing as our knowledge increases. And that is what a quark is. It's a piece of a proton. And they also make up other things, including a neutron. Oh, up, down, strange, John, top, bottom. If you don't know what a quark is, it don't matter. You still got them. And with leptons and bosons, unless something's amiss, they make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. Made up of quarks, including protons and neutrons, are composite particles that physicists call hadrons. Many types of hadrons are theoretically described, but most exist for only very brief amounts of time. Quarks have electric charge, color charge, mass, and spin. And having color charge exists solely inside of other kinds of particles that cannot exist alone. Whose particles have never been studied on their own. Oh, up, down, strange, jump, top, bottom. If you don't know what a quark is, it don't matter, you still got them. And with leptons and bosons, unless something's amiss, they make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. Well, quarks are joined together in two different ways. Baryons and mesons but most instantly decay. If a particle has three quarks, then it's a baryon. If there's one quark and an antiquark, then it is a meson. These tiny bits of matter are part of almost everything. And there is no unified theory to make it less confusing. But the fact that we've identified that they exist at all is so freaking remarkable that I just sit in awe. Oh, up, down, strange, jump, top, bottom. If you don't know what a quark is, it don't matter, you still got them. And with leptons and bosons, unless something's amiss, they make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. Up, down, strange, dark, top, bottom. If you don't know what a quark is, it don't matter, you still got them. And with leptons and bosons, unless something's amiss, they make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. They make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. They make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. They make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. They make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. They make up everything that we can see and that we know exists. You guys, I had like 3 more in me. And you started clapping, so I just gave up. And I decided, there was space. Oh, what's this? Is that there the whole time? Thanks. It's to John. Oh well. We'll see if that gets to him. This song is about Harry Potter. I mean, now I don't. You're so excited because you don't know which song it is. What song do you want it to be? All right, and the person who said yes really loud, just that person. What song did you want it to be? Okay, I'll get that. She was really excited. I'm getting kinda tired of this. Pre-publication media blitz, you got all of Mugglekind under your spell. Don't you know the whole world's already gone and reserved a copy at Amazon? How many more books could you sell? Now give me my book or go to hell, 'cause I need Harry Potter like every below needs water. And as that day approaches, my need brews. Ooh, I'll see you Deathly Hallows and Incendio book sales and bars. It'll be like Phoenix tears on a broken nose. Yeah, you Deathly Hallows. I'm getting kind of petrified. What would do if Hermione died, or if Voldemort killed Hedwig just for yucks? I didn't know that was gonna happen. I have no confidence in theories about life.